The Southernmost Plaza project is back on the June 4th agenda after being postponed last month so the community could weigh in. I went to that neighborhood meeting on May 14th, spent a couple of hours listening, and then afterward I walked the area myself because I wanted to get a better feel for what the people were talking about. And honestly, I think it was really good that the postponement happened. The commission is being asked to approve the construction contract, extend the TDC funding agreements, and move this project into construction. Staff was pretty clear that we're at the point where major redesigns would likely mean rebidding the project and pushing everything back. What struck me is that most people in the room weren't arguing over whether improvements should happen. Most people want improvements. The conversation was really about flooding, traffic, pedestrian safety, parking, loading zones, and whether the final design is solving the problems people actually deal with every day. Flooding was probably the biggest concern I heard. The project includes larger drainage pipes, more inlets, improvements to the drainage well, seawall work, and other stormwater improvements. According to the engineering reports, the system is expected to improve drainage conditions and meet the city's adopted standards. But residents had questions, good ones. People were talking about flooding around Whitehead and United. People were talking about water they've personally seen during storms and king tides. Staff acknowledged that no drainage system is going to completely eliminate flooding during extreme conditions. The goal is improvement. One of my favorite parts of the meeting was actually watching residents start brainstorming solutions. At one point, there was a discussion about adding a parallel relief line to increase drainage capacity. Now, I have no idea whether that ultimately makes sense from an engineering standpoint. That's not my lane. But what I loved was seeing people show up with ideas. This is exactly why public participation matters. We have an enormously knowledgeable community. We have engineers, contractors, business owners, people who have lived in these neighborhoods for decades. Sometimes those people spot opportunities that aren't obvious on a set of plans. I genuinely hope some of those lower cost, high reward ideas are being looked at as this project moves forward. The other concern I heard a lot was traffic and the slight narrowing of portions of the roadway. One thing that came up during the meeting was adding additional loading zones on South Street. After hearing the discussion and then walking the area myself afterward, I actually think that might address a lot of the practical concerns residents have raised without requiring major redesign. That's the kind of thing I really like to see. Not everyone gets exactly what they want. That's not how public projects work. But if we can find compromises that make a project work better for more people, that's usually a pretty good outcome. Now, the thing that surprised me most wasn't flooding and it wasn't traffic. It was how many people told me they never received any notice in the mail that this project was being proposed. I heard it at the meeting. I heard it again later while I walked the neighborhood and talked to neighbors who were returning back home. And I think that's something that we can easily do better. Whether somebody supports a project or hates a project isn't the point. If a major project is being planned in your neighborhood, you should know about it. You shouldn't have to stumble across an agenda packet or hear about it from a neighbor. As commissioner, that's something I would absolutely push for. If a major project is going to affect your neighborhood, you should receive notice and have an opportunity to participate before decisions are finalized. One thing I do want to acknowledge is that staff showed up and stayed for the conversation. Were there disagreements? Sure, there always are. But people got to ask questions. Concerns were raised. Ideas were exchanged. I thought the meeting was productive, and I hope some of the practical suggestions that came out of that room are reflected as this project moves forward, because we can't please everyone all the time. What we can do is listen, look for reasonable compromises, and take advantage of the expertise that already exists in the community. This item is scheduled to be heard morning session at 9 a.m. on June 4th. If you have thoughts on the project, send comments to the mayor and commissioners or come down and make a public comment. Last month, this item was postponed so the community could weigh in. Whether you support the project or not, I think the conversation was better because of it. The more people understand what's happening, the better this city works, and that's the kind of leadership I believe in.